who did
Oh,
change
not on
her.
her. Not
Like
on
it's
her.
still her. It's her tag, but
the
she
type.
has changed it to type T. Like she
Yeah, that's what
changed
I
her
was gonna
name.
say.
Yeah.
Is it in character? Is
No,
it
it's
like in
the
character?
actress where she's
Oh,
like, "Oh
okay.
my god, like he's
Oh,
back in the suit."
he's back in a suit.
Mustard suit or whatever she
Yeah,
calls it, ketchup and mustard.
didn't look too bad at all.
I loved it.
Day late and a dollar short for me overall, but yeah, no. You ready?
Let's do this thing.
Do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel Multiverse Mayhem.
Woo, mayhem.
Woo! The Marvel podcast of the Genreverse podcast network.
There you go.
Which you can find on YouTube, on all your favorite podcast apps, and of course at lrmonline.com. This week, I'm joined by a special guest, Kyle, who's here every week. How you doing, Kyle?
Like I kind of said, it was a better episode overall. There's still some gripes I've got, of course, but it's they
and we know
they knew they needed people to come back this late in the game. So,
and you'll see if maybe we'll argue a little bit less than normal because we know we're very popular for our disagreements about She-Hulk.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting the listens. Thank you, everybody. Conflict causes interest, I guess, that we found. Yeah. So you sound definitely more positive about it this week, Kyle. By far, I think it's the best episode that they've done.
I mean, it's up there with like the first one. I really enjoyed the first episode. If those that may have not caught our review of the first couple of episodes, we were both fairly positive. I was even hopeful, and then it just started to crash from there on. So do I want to say it's the absolute best? Likely, but I don't know. The first episode was still really good, and even the second one was mostly good. I'm not going to go back and ever watch them again to find out if this is better or not. But I enjoyed the majority of it. Without getting into too many spoilers about Daredevil's specifics, I thought
which we all knew.
Charlie Cox did fairly well, kind of transitioning into a funnier, lighter. We had seen him capable of jokes and comedy in the Netflix series.
Yeah, in less violent fight scenes, he can be quippy when it's less dangerous. When it's like fighting, like, the Punisher, suddenly you can't be as quippy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he slipped back into it for the most part. I could see how some people might be not enjoy it, but the way they executed it was fine. The way they blended it together, I was very, very concerned. However, I will say this: if that's the Daredevil we get in Born Again, I don't want Born Again. I know we're not going to get.
Was going to be.
Yeah, I know we're not going to get
of what we're getting in the future, or will there be a tonal shift because this is their biggest?
They already
this is their most comedic show.
They already said there will be a tonal shift for it. It's not going to be Netflix, and that's Charlie Cox's words himself. Tonal shift. We talked about it on the Daily Cup of Genre, and that's Born Again, not just what he's done with She-Hulk. However, I don't think it's all going to be that funny, and I definitely don't think it'll be anywhere near as gritty as the Netflix series was. If it leans closer
as Moon Knight,
maybe I don't know. Moon Knight had the benefit of it ambiguously covering what really happened and what didn't. Remember that line between fantasy violence and realistic violence. So I don't know if this leans more towards She-Hulk. And I don't mean just comedy, I mean in like his demeanor and stuff, then I won't be as interested. Well, why not? You don't like fun? Again, guys, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. That movie's a riot. Laugh every minute. It's great. I love laughing. Spider-Man, Homecoming. You're not the Avengers. I mean, come on. Yes, I love comedy. However, I still like to have some seriousness. You had add characters like Punisher to find more serious stories, and then you had even full imprints like Marvel Knights and things like that in the comics to give you something more
Daredevil.
exactly, which gives you something more grounded, gritty, adult oriented. So yes, believe it or not, the nearly 40-year-old man, 38 years old in January, I mean, I'll be a level 13, 25-year-old, wants adult entertainment. And I don't mean prawn, okay? Come on now. Anyways, what'd you think of it, Nick?
It was, obviously, I think it's my favorite, even more than the first. I know Daredevil's a big part of it, but I think even if you remove him, it's better written than most of the episodes. And obviously, a lot of the levity, or at least a lot of the great crispy dialogue is between him and She-Hulk.
Without him, there is no episode.
I know, but at the same time, it just felt like, just like we've kind of discussed with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and even the She-Hulk pilot, this is one of the episodes where like they save their money for so that she'd look shittier in other episodes. So that, I'm not saying she looked great, but then they had the special effects for Daredevil.
Well,
they had like a kind of car chase for a little bit, which, you know, cost some money.
I'll say this, the when she's in her business suit, especially when she's talking to the suit designer, that was some of the worst CGI we've had all
suit's
season.
Always been the worst.
Yeah, but I'm saying like this was atrocious. However, they did spend more money on her in her gala dress. That her skin textures were better, the animation was better, the clothing was better. So you can definitely tell that there was effort put into some shots and things that may have went through the rendering process a couple of extra times versus
extra runs
earlier episodes. So yeah.
Do you want to get into more specifics now? There's a few interesting things that we learn in this episode that apply to the bigger MCU. Sokovia Accords are no more.
Are gone.
There is more of a respect for keeping secret heroes' identities secret, which is, you know, you got your court case, Kyle. It was only part of the episode, but you got Matt Murdock speaking a mile a minute, like over She-Hulk. Like,
yep. And they managed to make She-Hulk look completely incompetent. I'll say this:
he's Matt Murdock.
Well, no, not even that. It is the jet fuel thing. So if someone gets into an accident in a car, what is the first thing that happens with the insurance companies? They send out an investigator. They look at pictures. They get the police report. When the police show up, they take information. So when it comes time for a court case, which I never had to go to court for it, but my head injury resulted in, you know, lawsuits and stuff like that. So I know for a fact that the lawyer would have found out if there were any possible ways that this was the client's fault, such as using the wrong fuel. That literally infuriated me, because it goes again to that whole line of, I get that this is a comedy, but that is such a mess up for a lawyer to be like, yeah, we're gonna sue you because you screwed up. Well, your client put the wrong used the equipment wrong. Oh, really? Why didn't you tell? Well, you're the lawyer.
A little bit different when it's.
But here's the
thing. You didn't see a brochure, like a car brochure, you would know.
No. You would, and you couldn't cover this. And I'm not saying that I wanted to see an investigation in the episode. I'm saying that this is bad writing. This is where when the writer gal said that she didn't know how to write courtroom stuff. This is one of those obvious things, and it goes to that whole, like you just mentioned, these Sokovia Accords. We know that the MCU has a serious legal system, and here we've seen like the lawyers pulling the magic tricks out of their sleeves and stuff in the courtroom, and judges letting antics go on, things that would never ever happen in a world where we've already seen how serious things can be. So that's a difficult thing for them. But that right there, for that to have been the crux of their lawsuit, and her to not even question whether or not the client was at fault, that is bad. That made Jennifer look like an awful lawyer. That wasn't making Matt look like a brilliant man. No, that made She-Hulk look awfully dumb and incompetent in her job. That was bad writing.
I think that's writing for convenience. I think, like that
Maybe.
one guy's super easy, because they need to have that moment where it's like,
then it's
my super, smelling is heightened, so
then
I'm
it's
gonna
super freaking lazy,
out.
and it made her look bad. And like I said, I didn't want a big investigation. This isn't Law
She
and
didn't
Order.
want that case.
I didn't. Come on, you got to do better, writers. You really got to do better. But yeah,
it raised one question about Luke Jacobson, the designer. It's like, so I thought he was very particular about his clients, or is the fact that what's his face? I have it written down here. Patello,
I don't think you can.
Do you think it's all about the money?
I don't think they thought about it that far.
Okay.
I don't think they thought about it that far. I don't think there's any thought into this at all.
Okay. So still down on it, man. I love this episode.
Like I said, there's still issues with it, and that's one of them, man. To where you're just ripped out of like how could a lawyer be so incompetent to not check the avenues of the cause? And like I said, I didn't want there to be a big They should have written this differently. The way they got to the whole issue should have been written differently. I'm not saying I know the exact way to write it. I'm saying this was like you said, maybe convenience. It may have just been laziness, and they're just like, But even then, it's kind of like, well, what do you think of the audience then? If you think that's fine to treat the audience that way, like,
I didn't notice it because I don't watch law shows. So, like, for a general audience member like me, I didn't even notice that it would be
I guess, but I mean,
I'm here for Marvel, not here for Attorney at Law. But so some other things I wanted to point out that were kind of fun. He has the whole, us versus them, and he basically says what Daredevil says, actually, in the Ben Affleck movie. I remember because we rewatched that, where he's like, you can help out the little guy as as She-Hulk, and then you can help out other people
help the little guy as do the justice thing.
Yeah, like
Jen.
what he does. Where he's like, he does his defense in court things, but when they make a big deal of it, when the law doesn't, and I don't think they do it as much in the series as in the Ben Affleck movie, where he makes a big point of letting the guy get off so that he can beat the shit out of him later. I don't remember that as much in the series Daredevil, but that's one of the only things I remember about the movie Daredevil.
And that's to keep people off his trail a bit, if you will.
And then, of course, we have Todd continues to be very suspicious, especially now that he has vibranium, and he asked her specifically about that in an earlier episode. I was actually surprised he didn't have the vibranium with her and would do a little stab, but I guess that wasn't the adventure we're getting this week, because I think it's very specific that he names vibranium after asking her
I'm
about it.
fairly certain that the reason he can't give it back is it was melted down to make those needles that got her blood. I'm fairly certain. It could be all misdirection, but yeah.
I figured he got the blood without even needing a needle because she was just sleeping.
Maybe that's true.
Or even he got her fluids a different way.
Well, because they had the fancy big fancy needles in that one. They might not even address it, and in which case it might be another one of those things of bad writing. But you're right. It might have been just because she was asleep. But
I liked. I loved the conversations that the two had, even if it wasn't at the bar, where it's like the conversation of goons versus henchmen, and I would have thought that that you have to cram it into a half hour, but the hand clap would have fucked up Daredevil's ears for like a while, but you don't have time to really dwell on that.
Because he does not have super healing, so if she ruptured his eardrums, he'd be messed up for a bit. As someone that's busted their eardrums a few times, so
yeah, we got an expert here. Let's see. I love like little details.
Fun when bombs
actually
go
use
off
the Daredevil
and you're not
theme.
wearing your ear pro.
Yeah, I've seen them do some Mythbuster stuff about how certain distance from a bomb and what part it ruptures of your ear. I liked the Daredevil theme popped up, kind of like the X-Men theme has been popping up. I mean, it's just like, why not throw it at you a little bit?
I enjoyed hearing it.
I actually saw a billboard for Rogers the musical in the background of one of those shots. So guess what? It's come to Los Angeles. It's not just running on Broadway.
That was one of the worst things ever. And what a waste of a. Anyways.
And we got a pretty. I mean, they implied a lot with the sex scene. We didn't get the same stuff from a Netflix show, but I remember that was one of the things they warn you about at the beginning of the episode, like rated TV 14. And one of the things was, like,
intense sexual situations,
which wasn't intense, but it's more than we've seen on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
kind of like we were.
And I think the intense thing was the revenge porn at the end.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that was what it was.
That's the intensity, because consensual, relations, where if you're filming, you've given consent to filming is fine, but if you haven't consented to videotaping your romp in the sack, then yeah, that would be very, very distressing. And you can imagine people that have had that happen to them in real life would appreciate a warning of sorts. So yeah, and an interesting thing to do, an interesting thing to use what the Intelligencia did. It was very, very disturbing. I mean, that is a thing that exists. There's lots of cases, court cases where that's been done to people, and I mean, just imagine your, like, her parents were there. No one wants to think about their parents having sex any more than parents want to think about their adult kids having sex. So absolutely a good catalyst to show She-Hulk as a raging monster. But regular Hulk's a raging monster too.
We kind of got that. It's the first time we've seen her lose her temper.
Yeah,
like, for real, and even have like Department of Damage control there with, like, I'm sure they're always hovering about whenever there's a superhero.
That was
situation.
weird to me. They got there that.
I bet they were outside
quick.
For situations like that, because they're like, there's a Hulk situation. She's been good so far, but they're very untrust. They trust people less than S.H.I.E.L.D. does, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has people under surveillance all the time. I really loved. I didn't need to say the line because I just noticed it, but I really loved the Daredevil walk of shame, where he doesn't even have, like, his boots on.
Yeah, Christine said that
kind of humor
as well.
Like, before, the character didn't have to say it. I just saw it and I was like, "That's funny."
I'll say this: it's a funny scene, and I dig it. I could see that in a lot of like if you did a Robot Chicken sketch or something like
about
that.
Daredevil.
But having the Charlie Cox Daredevil do that seems really funny moment. Really far-fetched. Don't buy it for the character, but funny moment.
I still think we're gonna see
he would have went, like, on the roof, or he would have went in the back alley or something.
No, it was definitely just for a laugh. I really think,
which again is weird, but
I really think we will see a differentiation. Like, if he's on a funnier show, he's gonna be funnier. If he's on his own show, it's gonna be lighter, like you said, but it's not gonna be that goofy.
Yeah,
or, like,
I hope.
If Deadpool ends up being an Avengers movie, he's not going to be allowed to curse and, like, squirt blood and stuff. So you almost picture him looking at the camera and he's like, well, I have to play nice kitties this movie because I'm, like, teamed up with Spider-Man, or,
or, like, put
whatever.
A piece of tape over the camera so you can't see it.
I can't fight in front of you guys with. You won't want to see this scene. This is a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
I like the recognition, or her recognizing that it's like the episode should be over now, right? And then a character I don't think we'll ever see, they just did it for the fans, referencing Red Hulk was interesting. Like, I don't think we'll ever see Red Hulk. That's just, it's like putting John Krasinski in as Mr. Fantastic in probably one instance. It's like, mention things the fans want. Like,
I didn't know people liked Red Hulk until a year or two ago, and
I've never been a fan.
Apparently people did. I thought it was an atrocious storyline. I mean,
it's been interesting when he's been in.
What is his name? Holy crap! I just lost his name.
The
guy that wrote the Long Halloween.
He wrote that. Jeff Loeb.
There you go. Loeb was on Hulk for a lot of things. There in the mid to late 2000s, that first decade of them, and he had a family tragedy, and I am not taking anything away from that family tragedy. That losing a child would change you forever. So he lost his child, and his writing drastically changed, and it's awful what happened. But a lot of people that like my age, especially our age, Nick, you're only a few years younger.
Almost exactly 4 years, because I'll be turning
right.
25 in February, and you're a January boy. So
yeah, they all felt similar, that the stories had taken a hit, that they weren't as good, that they and I didn't know there were fans of like World War Hulk even, which I thought that was atrocious. So, but hey,
the only time I've really seen Red Hulk and enjoyed him is, the Thunderbolts is different teams depending on who writes it.
Yeah.
And sometimes Red Hulk isn't, he's Thunderbolt Ross, but he's literally on the team. He's not just like it's named after him.
Right.
Because I want to know the runs of Thunderbolts I read. It was like Deadpool, Wolverine, just normal Wolverine, Leader, I think Zemo, Red Hulk, Punisher, maybe not Zemo, but Punisher, like mostly good guy. Even like Wolverine, he's a violent guy, but he's not a bad guy, because the Thunderbolts aren't always. I mean, look at the new lineup. They're they're anti-heroes. They're not.
The more famous lineups have been villains, including guys like Venom and stuff on it.
And
but
Zemo usually leading it.
Yep,
the more famous.
Zemo
so that was one of the Marvel Now, or all new, all different. Whatever they. One of the reasons I stopped even reading DC, aside from money, is it's just like they're just gonna give it a new name, give you a new number one, and it's like, all right, you can just keep numbering them,
resetting everything.
And they never actually reset it, is that what they do? When they renumber it, they're just hoping to get new fans, because they're like, it's a number one. And it's like, no, it's a continuation of the story I was reading.
Yeah, it's a temporary. And I've been kind of poking fun at that a bit on the Daily Cup of Genre, because our podcast thumbnail, not the one here on the YouTube channel, but our podcast thumbnail has the a new episode order. We're in the 40s, but then it's got a legacy number underneath from when Manny and I first started the show, like nearly 180, almost 180 episodes ago. Funny. So I'll keep the legacy number up till 200, and then I'm debating on whether or not to just continue with the new one or go back to the legacy number as the as the top number, like comics often do. Amazing Spider-Man's had several runs where it went back to number one, and then it'll jump back to 700.
And for a while,
and whatever.
Marvel did say that they would give the one number and then the other number right below it.
Exactly.
I think that was why, like all new,
exactly
all
why I do. Exactly
Love
why
it.
I do. It's just a little
Easter
tongue-in-cheek
egg.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nudge.
Now you'll notice it.
Yep.
Daily Cog. And I guess from here, do you think we'll see any more Titania, or do you think we're going to get some kind of Hulkling, or there's going to be some kind of Gamma monster, I assume, at this point, whether it's Todd or Todd's just a rich guy, whether it's something he paid for. I don't think it's going to be her being the villain. Okay.
I mean,
because they have 30 minutes left.
And I know Abomination is supposedly got at least one scene left. There's like footage or pictures, maybe trailer footage that we haven't seen in the show. So some
wearing
assume
a white shirt or something.
I have no idea. Some assume that it is indicative of footage not yet shown, but not always. Marvel's done it plenty of times where they'll take alternate angles or stuff that was fully cut out, stuff that was never intended even for the films, I've heard, and put those into the trailers and TV spots, and they're never part of the final project. So we'll see.
I would almost
I don't
expect
know.
Abomination to be on her side if there's some bigger threat. Unless
I mean,
they somehow mind control him, or
that one Wrecking Crew guy was at his retreat. So I don't know.
And we suggested last week, we assume he did change. It wasn't just his tracker getting electrified next to his favorite chicken on the fence or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So anything else to say about I don't think I even gave the name of the title. It was related to the bad guy, Ribbit something.
Ribbit and Rip It.
Yeah, Ribbit Ribbit and Rip It, the character that reminded me of a very incompetent vigilante.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but I got a bit of a Venture Brothers feel from from Leapfrog and his henchmen. It kind of felt like the Monarch and his henchmen, but yeah, goons, whatever. I
don't like being called frog kids. I mean, I like the little conversation.
Yeah,
it's better than being called tadpoles or something.
Tadpoles. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully the final episode is on an upward track as well. I mentioned this on our Discord, which you guys can find a link down below in the description boxes. That I'm tired of being like, oh, thank God the show's over, and not looking forward to the next week like I did for Obi-Wan, like I do for She-Hulk, and like I did for a lot of Marvel products, but also Book of Boba Fett and
Andor.
And things like that. Andor. However,
Andor.
I am all about. I'm hooked, man. It's so EU. It's ridiculous. I needed this W. So
learn more about that on the Katina.
Yep. Hopefully, episode 9 for this is better, and look forward to Werewolf by Night,
which we'll be covering this week.
Yeah, Manny is a lot more lukewarm than a lot of the critics, so I'm curious as to how it will play out for me, and I'm not concerned about I wasn't concerned about the kind of style and corniness and whatnot of it, but it all kind of depends on how it feeds into the rest of the MCU.
Especially Feige said that it's important.
Yeah.
Whereas I would just assume this is kind of its own corner.
Yeah. He says that about it. He said freaking Loki had repercussions in Spider-Man and Doc Strange, and it's like, what are you gonna tell us in Secret Wars? Oh, back when Loki stabbed Kang, that was the first
Sylvie.
Whatever.
Sylvie.
You know what I'm saying?
A Loki,
yeah.
All
and
right.
Sylvie did it, so whatever.
Sylvie did it. Let's wrap her up.
Sylvie all along.
Dun, 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 dun. So as we mentioned, we'll be doing a Werewolf by Night on Friday. I assume we'll have it out Friday, but
can't promise.
If not,
it depends, but
yeah,
Friday or
Kyle
Saturday.
has a lot of shows he produces, like Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast is a Friday show.
We'll have a Daily
and
Cog
then
on Friday.
Daily Cog. And then we'll have our final episode, not of the show, of She-Hulk next week. And then we'll get back into kind of the news, because there's lots of Marvel news every week we could be discussing, but we got TV series and movies.
Yeah.
So with that, remember to find us on the Genreverse Podcast Network. You can watch us on YouTube, give us a like. Apple, you can review us, give us 5 stars. I think I did say it that right, Kyle. I know you have a weird look on your face. I said Genreverse Podcast Network.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. I was weird facing at something else.
Okay. LRMonline.com. Of course, we have other great podcasts, Animeversal reviews. I still can't remember the name.
AVR Squared.
AVR Squared. I'll write it down. AVR Squared.
Like the little number 2 over the R, like mathematics.
Mathematics. AVR Squared, Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, which I am a part of, and Kyle, of course, produces. Usually chimes in, especially if we get onto Star Wars territory. He's definitely a contributor sometimes. I
mean,
tomorrow we do Hocus Pocus too. Yeah, somewhat. Whenever there's Ghostbuster news, we'll just say he chimes in then as well, or any Sony news. Daily Cup of Genre Shot, and the Katina. I think I got all of them because I was a little distracted by your tattoos.
Sure. We also got the review of the rings, guys. Lots of
cool
stuff.
Review of the rings, our latest program. How many episodes? Oh, I'll save that for later. Okay, and with that, Excelsior.
Enough said.